Hi everybody, welcome to Families Destroyed by the State. We're here with Sharon Binks and we've just been having a natter about unity and everyone coming together, so we thought it'd be a good opportunity to, well, film. So hi Sharon.
Hello people. Hope everyone's well.
So you were saying about, obviously next weekend, about the, obviously demos that you got to go to and campaigns that you're going to and the unity that's bringing everybody together. Do you want to go into that a bit?
Well, there's people on the street. I don't want to give too much away or say who's involved or anything. In certain demos in London at the weekend of I know Dean Cumberbatch has put something out for the 13th. I know the football lads are talking about doing something on the 14th. And we're hopefully meeting with a few people to discuss how we move things forward. And as I was saying, lots more people are getting in touch with us, both you and I, and all these little groups that are setting up. You know, if we can make contact with all of those groups and we can make links with those groups, then we can get organised and work in the shadows. Not give too much away, but I have some brilliant ideas for taking things forward. And all I've been hoping for the last couple of years is to join the dots, to get in contact with all of these people that are fed up with the establishment, fed up with being walked all over and abused by the system, and get them to come out. I mean, there's a massive untapped resource of people in this country that I want to get access to. I want to make inroads to, get them on board, and give them a focus, give them a purpose, and hopefully help them out. While they're helping us out, we help them out. And I think that between us and other people that we know, there's so many different contacts for so many different groups. There's people helping the homeless, there's the veterans, there's the families destroyed by the state, there's forced adoption, there's I mean, the grandparents that come forward that are fighting for the children. And the problem that we've got is all the gagging orders. You know, they've spent thousands and thousands of pounds on gagging orders. They put gagging orders on anybody that puts anything on the Facebook. I mean, look what happened to Angie the other day. I don't know if you've kind of picked that up.
We've put it on the channel as well, the videos from Angela Ray. That was just despicable what they're doing, going and arresting someone who's fighting for the kids while they're out having a meal with two other mums. I mean, two other women, sorry. But I mean, it's just ridiculous. But before we move too far on,
this is what they're doing.
Sorry, going quickly back when we were saying about all groups uniting as well. I was speaking with Kenny from Nonce Catchers, Northern Ireland, yesterday, because they're bringing Families Destroyed by the State into their campaign a bit as well. And one thing that me and Kenny wanted to stress to their team, and obviously to everyone else, is the whole purpose of us uniting is so that we can help each other. We're not asking anyone to stop their own groups or to leave their own groups in the past and to join one group. That's the complete opposite. We're saying
we want more groups. We want more little groups.
We need to link. That's it. That's all we're saying is we are still separate individuals. We are still separate identities, but we do need to lend a hand and help each other every now and again. We do all want the same thing, so we need to work together for it. But we want to keep everyone's individuality.
We do want to keep everyone individual. They all need their own identities, and identity is a big issue at the moment in society. I think they're stealing children's identities by destroying the families network and you know, confusing them about who they are and what they are through the education system. So having an identity is really important, and owning what you do is really important as well. All we want to do is join the dots. We want as many dots as possible to join, and you know, what we're finding is these parents, these grandparents, these veterans, they're all seeing the destruction, they're all feeling it, they're all experiencing it, and they want to do something about it now. That people have had enough. And I do believe that next year is the year. You know, 2020 is going to be our year, because more and more people are now standing their ground, despite the gagging orders. If we can get one parent like yourself in an area that can meet with other parents in similar situations and form a bond and have pockets of people all over the country that we can communicate with. We need some sort of hierarchy. We can't get away from the hierarchy, right? It's just how society's
it's like experience at the end of the day. It's like I wouldn't tell a gardener how to do a gardener's job, and a gardener wouldn't listen to me about if I told him how to do a gardener's job, just like a gardener wouldn't try to do a beautician's job and a beautician wouldn't take on advice from a gardener on how to do beauty work. I mean, when we're on about hierarchy, we're not necessarily on about ages or, you know, stature. It's on about education that's there, the research that's there, what they've been doing, how they've been, what they know, basically. We can help everyone else. So it's not like an order structure. We want everyone to come up to everyone else's level of education. I mean, there's still shitloads that I need to learn on a hell of a lot of stuff. So I look to people like Sharon and Bobby and Joseph and, you know, people who've been doing it for a lot longer and have experienced a lot more than me and done the research that I haven't. We all have a place, we all have a role. It's just figuring out what that is and then working and learning, building from there.
And sharing the resources that we have. You know, we've all got different experiences and that's invaluable. You know, it's real life experiences and some are good and some are bad, and sharing those and being able to share them. And all I mean by a hierarchy is a structure where it's like how the DFLA should have worked, right? You've got the people that are kind of organising things. You've got the people that can pull things together. Then you've got the kind of on a national scale, and then you've got the smaller groups. You've got the teams. If you've got football lads for every team in the country who are like-minded and want to do something to save this country, they need somebody to come in and kind of take the lead with that and get order and organise. They also need to be in contact with somebody that's in contact with the regional leaders and then the national leaders. Do you see what I mean? Not to say, you know, we're in charge, you do as we say, but just simply to filter out and filter down the resources, filter down the information, filter down the action plans, filter down anything that's going to be useful to us as a network.
Yeah.
But these teams, they don't need to all come together they don't, you know, if you've got Middlesbrough fans and Leeds fans who historically hate each other, you can't expect them to get along just because, you know, we've organised an umbrella to sit under. But they don't need to. That's the beauty of it. They can stay in their own towns. They can organise around their own areas and their own communities, and they can look at how they want to build that community back up, what needs to change, what can they do to make that change, how can they expose what's going on with the corruption. You know, all of these details, they need to take care of. We don't need to be telling them what to do in their own towns. What we need to do is give them some ideas of how they can do it, who's supporting them, what's worked, what hasn't worked, you know, what are the pitfalls, you know, but it's up to them to find the members of their own teams, the members of their own parties, whatever they want to call themselves, groups. That's
it's also
where
being able to put the differences aside as well for the sake of the children in the future. That's the other big thing as well. I mean, parents struggle with it in their own relationships. Parents struggle getting along with each other, or talking to each other after relationships built, you know, falling apart, but have to because of the kids. You have to find some neutral ground or put your differences aside. For example, you put your differences aside when you go on the pitch. Put your differences aside when you're fighting for a reason.
That's why the children have to be the centre of everything. The children are what we have to focus on, and the adults around those children have to put their childishness, their difficulties, whatever it is aside, and focus on the child. Because when you focus on somebody else, it takes you away from your own problems. If you've got a cause to fight, if you've got some injustice to campaign against, it gives you that feeling that you're actually taking part, that you're actually making a difference, that you've got a role to play. And we all have a role to play. We've all got our different roles to play. Me and Keith, like I say, he's standing as an MP for UKIP in Sunderland area, got elected in as a councillor earlier in the year, and they took 3 seats in that area for UKIP. And I know UKIP's got their problems or whatever else, but we're not asked what's going on in London, right? We're focusing on the north. And at the moment, they're doing a really good job. Keith's doing a really good job. Two of the guys up there, Richard Elvin and Keith Jenkins, are both standing as MPs. Now, if that takes Labour seats away, that's all good. You know, Keith didn't want to be an MP. He didn't want to get into politics, but that's where he can go, because he's embedded in that community. He's grown up there. He knows people. He wants the best for his community, and those are the sort of people that we need in positions within the system in each area. And the more people that stand as a councillor in their area, I'd like to say there was a party that we could absolutely rely on. I mean, I put all my faith in UKIP until, you know, you kind of look at what's going on and the divide. I mean, that's deliberate. It's always deliberate. We get infiltrated. So even if people have to go independent or you know, I don't know, eventually we may have our own party, but at the moment we need people on the inside and people on the outside. So the more people that can stand in those positions, the better it is for us, because that's how they're going to make change. That's how they're going to call them out. That's how they're going to observe the brown envelope brigade that are taking handouts to give certain deals to certain companies and, you know, completely dismissing what the community wants that they're supposed to be working there for. So we all have our roles, even if it's just standing on the street with a placard telling the truth outside a particular building or a particular, you know, it's like all these solicitors that's paid by the social that you know, we have to advise, don't we? Parents go out of town, out of area in order to get legal help if they're taken to court, because you can guarantee that most solicitors in their hometown will be funded by the social services, and they will do what they want them to do rather than trying to help the parent get the child back. We know how they operate now. It's disgusting, and the stories that we both hear daily is disgusting. You've lived it, you know. It's, people couldn't believe it if you just told them it and they had no idea what was going on, because they go, well, why would they do that? Or that can't be true. Well, you talk to the people that we talk to and we'll tell you that it's true. They'll tell you that it's true. And until you go through it,
you'll see the numbers yourself. If you just type in forced adoption, go anywhere, Google, Facebook, YouTube, type it in, you'll see for yourself, and you'll see how recent the videos are from people screaming out of what is happening to them, kids being ripped from them, and parents filming it to have to prove to people how bad they really are. And it's hard enough going through it as it is, but the people who actually have the strength to film it as it happens.
And this is what people have to do now. They have to record everything. If you get a knock at the door, if you get a phone call, if you, whatever it is, go to a meeting, record it. Don't let them know you're recording it. Record it anyway. Voice record it. Do whatever you can, you know, because that is the only way you're going to prove that they are so corrupt, because that's all they do. They lie, and you know, they corrupt the evidence in order to win. I don't know what they think they're winning, because as I explained on the phone to somebody yesterday, social services, when I started working for Children's Services, it was called Children and Families, right? We all worked in the same building. The social workers, the family support workers. If you had an issue with your child and wanted some support, you knew where to go. You knew which door to knock on, right? Then the councils start getting clever and restructuring things and closing buildings down. So what they then do is they hide now hot desking. For anybody that doesn't know what hot desking is where you get a laptop and a phone, and you can set that up anywhere. So you go into anybody's office that has a link to the council, you can plug your computer in and work from there. So when we were doing a demo in Middlesbrough, and I asked the police to find out where the Children's Services building was so we could demonstrate, there were two buildings and I wasn't sure which one was still in use. It took him a few weeks to get back to me, and he said he'd been at a council meeting, been at the town hall or something, and there happened to be a social worker there. And he asked her, where's your building? Where's Children's Services? And she said, oh, well, we've closed it, but we still use the building for correspondence because we haven't got an alternative address. So these letters that people are sending are going to a mothballs building that nobody enters, right? Oh, well, where are you then? How do people contact you? Oh, well, we just hot desk in like the youth service or the health service or wherever these little hubs are. Could be in a library, could be in a children's centre. A lot of children's centres are used by these social workers and health workers that all collaborate with each other. And the decent ones, the truthful ones, they're just ignored or pushed out or threatened. So they don't last very long because, you know, the narcissists have control. So what parents find is the social worker can cut them off. They won't answer the calls, they don't respond to their emails. Can they find them? No, because they could be anywhere. Does anybody want to help them find them? No. So who's taking responsibility? Because now they've closed most of the children's homes that the council would run down and privatise them, put them out to private tender. They take the children, they get paid for what they're doing, then they disappear. They don't take responsibility. Oh, well, you know, they're not in our children's homes, they're in a private. Well, who put them there? Nobody's taking responsibility. So we have to
wash their hands with kids after adoption as well. I mean, I asked with my daughter, are you going to stay in contact with her? Are you going to check up on her? How long are you still going to be involved in? Answer I got was, well, we'll check on her twice before adoption, but as soon as she's adopted, we won't have anything to do with her after that.
I worked with parents that were adoptive parents, and the kids were badly abused. Don't get me wrong. But they left them in there and they kept putting them back in there to get further abuse. I mean, these cases where there's sexual abuse and physical abuse are clear-cut cases. Of course, the children should be removed and never go back there if that is evidenced. We're talking about these crystal ball child snatching situations. So these children had attachment disorder, clearly, because of all the abuse. They had trauma, post-traumatic stress, whatever you want to call it. As soon as they walked out of that court, the help that they were offered was gone. Nothing. This couple, the very nice couple, they ended up, it broke their marriage down. They ended up, the siblings, one had one and one had the other. And I got involved by the time the boy was 16 because he was, he wanted him out as soon as he turned 16 because he was frightened of him, because he'd never had his trauma dealt with. There was allegations going backwards and forwards. The mental health service wasn't available to them unless they wanted to pay for it. So all of these promises that are made to these adopters when these kids are damaged, they fall by the wayside as soon as they've been adopted, and they don't get the help. So they lie to everybody. You know, it's not just the parents, it's the adoptive parent, everybody. They lie to everybody. They let everybody down. They say whatever it takes to get their own way, to get to the point that they've decided they want to get to, and then they wash their hands of it. And this is where I mean about nobody taking responsibility. We need to force them to take responsibility. We need to name and shame as many of those individuals, children's service managers, social work managers, senior social workers, whoever it is that's putting their name on that bit of paper at that time. But you notice, right, very little is signed. Very little is signed by an individual in these cases on their side because they don't want to take responsibility. And as soon as I get a case that's strong enough to take an individual through the civil courts, that's what I'll be doing. With, you know, I've got people in the background waiting to do that. But we need a strong enough case. We need to win it. The first case we take, we need to win.
Well, if you want to have a look at mine, you're more than welcome to have a look at mine.
Yeah, well, I've been in touch with my contact, and he's been out of action for a little while, but he's back on the scene. I had a chat with him the other week, and he's still up for a meeting. So, yeah, we'll just get all the paperwork in order, and we'll see what they can do with it. Because once we start making them take responsibility, it opens the floodgates then. You know, people see that we can make headway, we can make a difference. And that's where we're heading. See, next year, watch this space. Honestly, it's going to be a good year. I'm very positive about it.
You're not the only one. I mean, this year, everyone's going to be held accountable.
My grandson says to me this morning on the way to school, my mum said I can't join the army. I said, no, because you'll be joining grandma's army. Grandma's going to have her own army. I said, you'll be one of the foot soldiers. He said, you get to fight. I said, yeah, mentally. We'll fight with our brains.
The best way to combat. They've been playing a mind game with us for decades. It's about time we started learning the game so we can at least play it. Or even better, change the game from under the feet.
We need to do what they do because it's worked for them for a long, long time. They've had control for all this time and more, and they've brainwashed people to a degree that if you know, when people read 1984, they probably thought, yeah, that'll never happen. And here we are, you know. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought that, I mean, you think, well, how can they make people believe something that's not true? I just think everything I've been taught my whole life is a lie. And I'll start from scratch and I'll look for I'll research and I'll look for the evidence myself. And I believe what makes sense to me. So, and you think, well, how could they get everybody to believe? It only takes a couple of generations, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, if I hadn't witnessed the confusion amongst the young people about what gender they actually are, when a physical body can tell them that, right? You still go, how do they control so many people? How can they distort the mind like that? Well, we're seeing it in action, aren't we? All these subliminal messages and confusing these kids and, you know, promoting mental health as the new norm, because that's what it was when I was young. It was a mental health condition. If you were a guy going to a gynecologist and getting all upset and offended because they didn't want to see you, you'd be carted off to the fucking nut house. What is that? It's all on Facebook that this guy who thinks he's a woman is upset because the gyno won't see him because you've got a dick, mate. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, if he wants that thing fucking inserted up him to open him up to have a search, I would pay to see that because that would be fucking agonising down a dick.
He fucking wants a new one ripping open, man, honestly. These people are mentally ill. But they're mentally ill on purpose. Like, they've been guided down that mental illness route. Look at all these young people now that I mean, I knew when all these video games, and I know people say, oh, they're only games or whatever. Any parents out there that allow their children to play on games that are over 18s, be warned. Be warned, because it's done deliberately. I used to wonder, why is there no restrictions if it's got 18 on the box, right? If a 6-year-old went into one of these sex stores and wanted to buy a magazine or even a video or whatever, would he be allowed? He's not 18, is he? You're not allowed in there. But you could go in a game shop and clearly sell a child a game that has 18 on it. Well, what parents don't get is they're set up to distort the mind. They know that these young kids are going to be playing on these things. Desensitizes the brain to violence, to sex. A parent said to me, my 9-year-old's talking about strip joints and being vile towards his sister and bullying her and swearing a lot. I said, right, let's have a look at your games. Took all his games away that were 18s. She said in 2 weeks' time, his behaviour completely changed. It was because he was constantly on these violent, aggressive games, you know. I mean, I think they've got a plan to destroy womanhood, to destroy women. They're giving these children to abusive men, taking away from loving mothers and giving them to abusive men. Why would you do that? I had a phone call yesterday, you know, the guy even showed positive for cocaine and he still allowed it. He had a record of abuse, sexual assault, and he still allowed it. Now, they're putting a child at risk, the courts, by doing that. What is that all about? This is the thing.
Although, I do have to say, I know of a couple of people in a couple of cases where it has been reversed, where it was a battered husband case, or the mum just completely went downhill and was doing shit like that. That, you know, they ended up. So it was before I try and confuse myself, where the men were the ones who were targeted and victimised, like we were, and the women got away with it. Or in one case, the woman was used as a way of saying that she was too violent to have any of the kids, and he allowed it to happen. Well, he didn't. He never allowed any abuse to happen to his kids, but because he wasn't defending himself, because of how far down he'd fallen with his depression, they were saying that because of that, he wouldn't be able to defend himself. And then with Zach, he fought for his kid, and he's like full time with his now as well. And with their cases, it was a case of the mum seems to have gone downhill or going downhill and pretty steep and sharpish, and he had to step in because she wasn't thinking about the kid. Someone had to, and that's all he cared about was his son.
Yeah, but I'm talking about these abusive fathers, these you know, these women that have been in abusive relationships for like 20 years, broken free, then started suffering with post-traumatic stress from being in that controlling relationship, and the controller is still in the background trying to abuse.
Yeah, I get you 100% on that. My case is another one.
And don't get me wrong, there's as many narcissistic women out there that are vile and damage their children as there are men. I'm not saying that they're not, but it's like, how are these courts allowing the violent parent with the criminal records or the drug abuse to walk out with these children when, you know, these fathers or these parents that snatch the children, you've got to take them to court to get the child back. Well, go snatch the child back if that's the case. You know, what's stopping you? Because if you don't snatch that child back, you're not going to get that child back in a lot of cases. And if it's good enough for them to snatch them and then be told, oh, well, now that they've, you know, parents that have been the parent for 20 years and had like 6 children, whatever, they've got a 20-year-old, they've got a 3-year-old. The younger ones are deemed better off with the violent partner that's not in the household than they are with the mother, because she's going through post-traumatic stress at the time. There's no understanding for that parent's mental health or why she's in that state.
It's used against them. It's actually used against them.
Absolutely. And so we have to say to parents, don't tell the health visitor if you're feeling low. They always ask you, do you feel suicidal? Do you feel like taking your life? They always ask you that. Why do they ask you that? Because they want to put it on some records. And then somewhere in the future, they'll hold it against you forever. You know what I mean? And they'll use it in a court of law if they want to take your children. So don't go to... It's bad to say don't go for mental health help, right? But there's certain people that you can't go to. Health visitors and people that are linked to the GP surgeries, that are linked to the social services, that report everything, record it and report it.
You'll be able to tell when they're fishing for answers as well, especially when it comes to, like, for example, the suicide feeling. Because if you say no, why would I? I've just had a kid, I've just had a baby, I've got my kids, why would I? They'll go on to, well, have you ever, in your past, before you have had kids, have you ever felt suicidal? Because as soon as you say yes, that's the tick they needed. That's it.
So this is where we need to build family back up. This is where we need to build community back up, where the neighbours might see that you're looking a little bit down, or your child's a little bit dishevelled, or you've heard the child screaming through the night and think, she must be knackered today. You know, they've heard the parents screaming and shouting because they're at the end of the tether. Instead of reporting them, they need to be knocking on the door and saying, is there anything I can do? And that used to be the case. When I was a kid, that was the case, right? But we've lost it. We've lost all of that. And so we rely more on the establishment. You go to them for everything. The teachers think they should have a local parentis position where they deeming the parent not fit to have the children. You know, that interview I did with that lad, he at 12 years old, going into school, feeling a little bit ignored because of the baby in the family, and telling on his mum for having an argument with her, and then losing his whole family because of that one day that he said, you know, I've been fighting with my mum or whatever. Parents never had any involvement with social care in their lives. There was never any damage or harm brought to those children. He was down as ADHD in the school anyway, but yet they took his word and sent the social workers round, who threatened the parents with the police. Did they not sign a Section 20? Do not sign anything. Don't sign anything. If they come to your door, don't even let them in. Just tell them.
Don't fall into the mistake that I fell into and many others have fallen into. They can bully you, and they do bully you with bullshit. They threaten you with your kid. If you don't sign it, you won't see your kid. If you do sign it, you will. It's mind games, it's manipulation, and it's shit that they can.
Sitting there, right, I'm phoning the police unless you sign this Section 20. What are the police? All right, bring the police round. The police can see there's no harm to my kids. And if they come in my house and say I've broken the law in anywhere, then they'll have to prove it, because I know I haven't. Do you know what I mean? These people aren't breaking the law, but they're being heavy-handed by social workers, for some reason, get a bonus if they destroy a family. I mean, social services was set up off the back of volunteer women in the 1900s who, or the turn of the century, who, you know, could see that there was families in that area that were, you know, really struggling. Women volunteered to go around and help them out in whatever way they could around the home and everything. The government decided that they would set up an organisation, social services, children's services, whatever, right? People got paid to do the job. Once you start getting paid to do the job, they've got you in their pocket. These social workers now, God knows what they're being taught in uni, but I know they're getting taught to take children at birth because that's happened just recently. So, you know, they've all got mortgages, they've all seen a house they want to buy or a car they want to drive, you know, so, well, we'll just do it
that they get offered for doing the job. That's a lot of what people are going for. The thing is, it's narcissists that are getting drawn to that job because it's money. I mean, contact centre was getting £24 an hour, a contact worker who's got no qualifications in childcare, does nothing but write in a notebook for a manager to edit, which goes to a court which has the kids removed anyway, but £24 an hour. Nowhere near that amount of money is going into these families to start to keep them together. None of it, and that's what we're paying for.
I'm sure there are some good social workers out there still, and I'm sure that there's some that can see that, you know, where children belong. But even when that one yesterday, even though the social worker wrote a big report on the welfare of this child, the court ignored it. Usually the court do what the social worker wants, but if it means taking a child, it's almost like they deliberately want to damage children as early as possible in life. And then they've got them, they've controlling them, you know, whether it's because they want AI technology, whether it's because they want to depopulate the world, whether it's because they just want people to go commit suicide and get rid of a few useless feeders, the ones that they can't control. I don't know, whatever the reasons, but whatever it is, they're doing it. You know, that we're being attacked from every angle. A child, if you put all the issues around the child, what the child faces from conception to birth, to school age, to adulthood, right? The attacks on that child for money, big pharmaceuticals with all the vaccinations and everything. I'm sure the vaccinations and other things that they're putting in foods is responsible for the ability to manipulate the child into wondering what gender they are.
Oh, you're frozen a bit.
It went from being rarely heard of to being the latest trend. You know, it's like autism. Autism became an epidemic. When I started out working in schools, there was the odd child that was autistic or on the spectrum or, you know, struggled with behaviour or whatever. But now it's an epidemic. How is that possible? Is it just because parents don't know what the hell they're doing anymore? Is it just because you know, we damage those parents in
ourselves? We've never been taught what we need to know, like our rights. The simple thing of our rights. We're not taught them. We're not learnt to learn. We're not taught to learn them. We're not taught how to defend ourselves against corruption and state, or even against having our networks being broken.
Look how many people have been doing research. Look how many people are involved with common law now and the Magna Carta. And look how many people are looking into what's happening with the law and the veterans and researching history and looking elsewhere for the facts. There's so many now out there that it's a massive resource for us because we can get the truth out there. We can start opening people's eyes and getting them to think. That's all we can do, is get people to think. And when people start thinking, it's like in the Matrix. Once you've been red-pilled, there's no going back. You can't close your eyes to it. You might have to just narrow it down and focus on one issue that's important to you. But you can't close your eyes once they're open. And you know, it warms my heart to see how many warriors there are out there, how many people willing to stand up and be counted and for the good of all, not for themselves, because there's equal amount of people out there just serving themselves, looking for fame and fortune from other people's misfortune. They've seen an opportunity to get the name out there, whatever. And believe you me, I wouldn't be in the public arena if I didn't feel so strongly about everything. But I also keep myself to myself. Well, you know yourself, I'll only come on here when I get called to do so, mostly. I haven't done a live feed for ages, up in the woods.
I know, to be honest, I need to update my vlogs and everything, because I've not done mine in a while.
Yeah.
Stuff going on and everything kicking off back here, and that it's just this time of the year as well. It's a fucking killer. Can't leave the house without seeing Christmas stuff everywhere and families Christmas shopping, and it's just a killer to the point where I will lock myself away, because you got Christmas decorations on people's houses and everything, and as beautiful as they are, I can't look at them without thinking my kids would love to see that.
Yeah, I know. It is a shit time of year for a lot of people. I mean, people make a big thing out, oh, it's nearly Christmas and all that, but it's not a pleasant time for a lot of people.
A lot of us are thinking, yeah, don't remind me.
I mean, even those that are grown up, and you know, they've got family in place. Oh, they turn up once a year to show the face, and
yeah,
the family should be coming together all a year, not just once a year, or you know, focus on, oh well, you've got to do the family thing because it's Christmas. Well, we want people to do the family thing every day.
I'm just hoping that this Christmas people remember, and this New Year especially, people remember to at least think about, at least for a minute during that day, during those days, just think about the kids who can't be with their families, who won't be starting the new year with their family. And even the people who are spending their Christmas with no one because they've lost everything. You know, there's people there still fighting. It's not a joyous occasion from them, but you know, the most of us try and keep it as positive for everyone as we can. Although sometimes it doesn't work. Some of us are depressing like me.
No, I know. I just think I think it's a depressing time for a lot of people. As much as it's good for the kids in a lot of cases, it's kind of like it's taken away from what Christmas should be about, because it's all about how much money you can spend, how many presents you get, what you got, you know, when you go back to school. The kids, I remember as a kid dreading going back to school after Christmas, because all the posh kids would have all this, that, they'd be telling, oh, I got this for Christmas, that for Christmas, and I'm like, I didn't even want to say it, but that wasn't my mum's fault, do you know what I mean? It was just how it was. But so for Christmas, for me, even though like the kids love it and all that, it's still not, I remember that from childhood, it wasn't a pleasant time, you know, people get pissed up and fight, and you know, I don't know, it's just, it's materialistic, it's too materialistic for me. It's I mean, my daughter's great with her kids. She does all little things with the little elves and all that lot every day leading up to Christmas and all that, and it's the magic of it. Once the magic of it's gone, it's just materialistic.
I mean, I used to love Christmas growing up, but hate it at the same time. I used to love it because all my cousins were together, and my aunties and uncles were together, and you could have a laugh. And then when I had the kids, you know, I had the perfect Christmas mornings with them, so I could all fall with Liam, because I never had one with Krista. But where we'd come down and open presents, have our breakfast, watch a movie, go to my gran's so we could open his presents there. And I mean, when the rest of the family got their Christmas and New Year's, I mean, they used to spend the entire time criticising me over the fact that I was too lenient with my son because I wouldn't tell him off because he wanted attention from the adults and he wanted to talk to them, play with them because he hasn't seen them all year.
Yeah.
I mean, most of mine, I ended up fucking crying in the kitchen at night before taking my son home. But I wouldn't change them because it was days I got to spend with my family and the rest of my cousins. And I got to see my son play with my cousins. You know, my sisters, my sisters are the youngest, but my sisters who, you know, the youngest one plays with Liam and likes Liam. And then just now it's just nothing. Last year, I didn't see anyone. I didn't speak to anyone. One of the other mums, Sharon, I call her Mama. She's also called Sharon. She said that she was coming round and she was only 10 minutes away, and I wasn't allowed to spend Christmas entirely on my own. And I managed to make it to the door before passing out and splitting my eyebrow open. So she spent about an hour with me and then fucked off again.
Well, don't be sick.
This year I won't break my face.
No, don't break anything. All your spirit.
Oh, no, just, that. They can try.
Just focus on the new year. Because me and you've got plans, girl.
Oh, hell yeah.
Got a lot of work.
Our admin is everything as well, ready to go.
We've got a lot of work ahead of us. We've got to set up these networks. Fight them at their own game, you know what I mean? Beat them at their own game. We've got to be the educators and the social workers, and you know, if we can set these networks up, they don't need to go find help from anywhere else. They'll have help within their own community. Exactly. We'll push them out. We'll freeze them out. The less they created the nanny state to make everybody reliant on it. Once everybody's reliant on the nanny state, they don't feel they can go anywhere else. They're trapped. They imprison themselves by getting involved in it and abiding by the rules of it. You know what I mean? I suggest everybody look at the universal laws, because for me, they're the only laws that we need to follow. And most people who are good human beings will follow those laws anyway, naturally. You know, it's just they're corrupted by the state. They're corrupted by their corruption. So yeah, we have got a big job ahead, but I believe we can do it.
Oh, of course we can. We've got our team, we're building, now people are joining together and uniting. Of course we have.
The angels are gathering. Not all angels are sweetness and light, you know. You've got warrior angels out there too, ready for the fight. Oh, they don't lie down and let you, you know, it's not all peace, love and light. There's a little bit of fight in there as well. There's a lot of fight in there, there has to be. But, you know, there's no better way to direct your anger than put it into something passionate like that and fight the force against us. You know, instead of fighting each other, we need to look a little bit higher up and take down those ones that are ruling over us. So, yeah, I'm all for it. That's my life's work. And I do it for me. I love it. I love it.
So this is why I love working with you so much. But on that note, I'm going to end the recording. So thank you, Sharon, for joining us, and thank you, everybody, for watching as well.
Well, you keep your spirits up, and we'll see you soon.
Always will.